Hello and welcome to day 4. My name is Tammy. I'm your host and mentor guide on this journey through 31 days of essential oils. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm really super stoked that you're here. At the same time, allow me just to say that this is really an ongoing conversation, a daily conversation that I'm having, sharing my perspective, my experience, my insights with each individual oil. Now, I've said this in other videos, and I want to make sure that I say it here. I don't necessarily recommend using just one oil. One oil does have, a number, several, couple, could be 100 constituents in it, so it's 100% active regardless of how many constituents is in it. But the fact is that when we combine them with 2 or 3 other oils, no more than that, you receive the benefit of synergy, because the combination, especially if we understand how to blend oils, once you create that synergy, it's just extraordinarily powerful with the body. And again, you have it's 100% active regardless, so there's no inactive ingredients in it. It's all 100% active. But that said, I'm doing them on an individual basis because I think it's important to talk about how each one of them affects the body, because that way you can begin to learn or figure out maybe how to blend it and what you're intentionally trying to create. I mean, in some regards, this is alchemy. Okay, I'm not talking about blending according to what we're typically familiar with. This is some of the things that I do. I teach, and I've been working at this level for a number of years. And this is new for me to be sharing all of this, not because I don't want to, because I didn't think I could. I thought it would be too complicated, so I'm just breaking it down at this level. So again, thank you for being here and sharing this with me. But as I said, the reason for providing information on the individual oils kind of gives us a foundation of knowing what they're actually doing in the system, as I said. And then so when we start to learn how to look at the bigger picture as to what we're trying to accomplish with the body, and I do recommend using oils every single day, several times a day, regardless of your health condition. If you have symptoms, definitely use them for symptoms. If you don't have symptoms, definitely use them, because you can offset and prevent symptoms. If you're taking medications, you definitely want to use them. However, you don't have as much liberty with the oils once you start taking medications. In fact, Roman chamomile is one of those, which is unfortunate because it's a pretty magnificent oil, is how I want to say that. It's not the same thing as Moroccan chamomile or German chamomile. There's different types of chamomile, and that's one of the things that I am emphasizing in these videos, is when we have more than one oil in a particular family, they're going to be spoken about independently. So that said, Roman chamomile is not. It's a standalone oil in the sense that it has its own magnificent qualities. And the biggest one that I can share right now, or I will share with you, is that it has a direct influence on the glycolytic cycle, or otherwise known as glycolysis, more specifically in the area of where glycine and serine are produced in the body. Now, this is significant when it comes to methylation, and anybody who's familiar with MTHFR. Because glycolysis is where NADH is produced. This is the fermentation cycle where sugars are broken down and reappropriated for further use in the body. And Roman chamomile actually has a direct influence on that particular process. I was trying to figure out what word I wanted to use. It has a very distinct influence on that process, and part of what it's doing is it's actually helping glutamate, help with the conversion of glutamate, because glutamate is being used to produce glutathione. Glutamate is also converted into GABA. GABA is what's one of our self-soothing. It's an inhibitory neurotransmitter. Glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter, and when there's alterations to the epigenome, or for that matter, we're being exposed to a high level of heavy metals, glutamate is being used in the process of oxidizing dopamine, which now you have higher levels of glutamate that are not being, you have glutamate, pardon me, not being converted properly, so we're not getting that self-soothing ability. This is where the anxiolytics come in. But this is the reason why, you know, a number of anxiolytics actually, well, they're benzos, and they influence the production, or they don't influence the production. They actually basically are taking the place of the GABA effect. And so in many respects, Roman chamomile can be used along those lines. Like I said, though, you cannot mix it with any psychotropic medication at all. It does have beta-caryophyllene in it, and beta-caryophyllene is very similar to CBD. Again, it's obviously not the same chemical. It's in the caryophyllene oxide family. It's not it is a cannabinoid. It's just not cannabidiol. So beta-caryophyllene is a cannabinoid. It's not cannabidiol. However, it has some similar effects or influences at the liver enzyme level. And for that reason, there's a lot of conflict with the psychotropics. And essentially what I'm getting at is it's an inhibitor. It'll inhibit activity and thereby increase blood serum levels of the other medication. In many cases, it's an additive effect. Depending on, again, on the genome, we can't predict it. I'm going to come out here and say this right here, right now. I've probably said it in other videos. I don't think I've said it in this segment of videos yet. It is not possible to predict how any oil, how any medication is going to affect any body 100% of the time. And the reason for that is due to the variations within our epigenome, which are normal, okay? And normal in the sense that the epigenome, the body, is wired to survive. It is wired to protect. That is how nature is wired. We're struggling because we have also, with the change in our chemistry, is how I want to just explain this. With the threat of the environment, okay, with all of the chemicals that we're exposed to on a regular basis, alters the way the body is reacting. It influences a survival mechanism, also known as stress mechanism, metabolic changes, to put it a different way. That means that the chemistry shifts in the body, not because it's dysfunctional, not because it's defective, but because it is producing chemistry in a different way for us to survive. Now, that said, the epigenome does change rapidly, given wherever our body is in the cycle, whether it's, you know, time to wake up, time to go to sleep, time to start the menses, time to develop a baby, whatever the cycle is, okay? There's constant changes going on in the body, and in the meantime, we're being threatened essentially by these chemicals, so that creates alterations. Those alterations often lead to, they amplify or they depress our moods and emotions, hence anxiety, hence depression, okay? Then we have the human nature of thinking, trying to figure things out, which is not necessarily to our benefit. But the fact is, if just imagine now the chemistry shifted a bit, and we're leaning more towards, like, say I said, like, we have more glutamate and not enough GABA, not because the body can't produce the GABA, it's because the glutamate is being used for something else. We tend to maybe get sicker. We don't, you know, or I shouldn't say sicker, but we have a tendency to, we're producing higher levels of oxidative stress. Glutathione is an antioxidant. Okay, so glutamate is used in oxidative processes, and then it's used to produce an antioxidant that counters the oxidative process the glutamate just was involved in. Hopefully that makes sense. So the body's cranked, right? Chemistry is different. We're thinking about things. We're trying to figure things out. But in this particular scenario, we are prone to anxiety. We're having an anxiety attack, so to speak. We're having anxious moments. We're excessively nervous, irritable, and so on. Again, that's not our fault. That is just the change in the chemistry. But because we have this mental and emotional component that's being factored in due to the change in our own chemistry, and we're thinking, which then amplifies the effects, that keeps things going in the more heightened state, then we start to see higher levels of oxidative stress, we start to see more inflammation, and we begin to see dis-ease, lack of ease, disorder, lack of order, or for that matter, just discomfort, lack of comfort. This is the reason why we don't see this kind of issue in plants and animals, because they don't have the degree of thought process that we become engaged in. And so again, we're actually creating a backfire in our system. And that said, that's the reason why I feel like it's absolutely necessary that everybody be using oils, and why you don't, though, want to blend them with your medications, because it's just going to add to the stress to the system. And it could potentially cause, like I said, an additive effect, which would be more sedating depending on what you're doing, or it actually could, depending on your epigenome, and maybe there's some even more changes that it takes it beyond additive and it creates the exact opposite effect. I will be truthful right here. I had a couple of clients, I've worked with Amish people, and they were introduced to CBD because it's natural, right? And people were saying, just take it, just take it. And two of them that I can tell you straight up got themselves into a big, hairy mess. One of them actually walked out in front of, right in front of a bus. She survived. Fortunately, the bus driver saw her coming, so he was able to slow it down. But it basically produced a psychotic event. Now, she did have a lot of other things going on, so I'm not saying that that's a natural or a normal experience, but it's an example of how important this is, because it doesn't make it natural, doesn't make it safe, especially when we're talking about medications. But nonetheless, no matter where you are, medications or no medications, oils are definitely necessary. So like I said, with Roman chamomile, it is exceptional for helping to relieve anxiety. It's exceptional for actually digestion, because it's actually also involved in the glycolytic cycle and the process of reappropriating sugars and the production of glycine. It also is involved, it supports, it actually supports the production of collagen. And this is the reason why we're beginning to see aging happen faster, because we're amped, because there's so much stress going on. We're not breaking the sugars down properly. We're not breaking the proteins down properly. We're seeing overactive immune reactions occurring. And so by including Roman chamomile, you're stimulating the production of, or you're helping the body to produce, reminding the body to produce, rather, that it needs to produce glutathione. It also needs to produce GABA. It needs to produce glycine. It needs to produce serine. All of these chemicals are necessary for mental health, mental and emotional health. It's also helping in the production of collagen. Collagen is what makes the skin get, wrinkly and saggy, and that's why we're talking about crepey skin when I was talking about palmarosa. So really helping the body improve the way it is using the macronutrients. This is when I talk about digestion at the cellular level. This is what I'm talking about. This is significant. And so I highly recommend oil, Roman chamomile, like I said, unless of course there's medications involved. It also has an anesthetic effect to it that I've used it for. So meaning, like, if you've got tenderness in the skin, almost like a nerve pain kind of, it's very good for nerve pain is what I want to say, the nociceptors. So it's very helpful for that. And again, it has a lot to do with the way it is affecting, keep that in mind. GABA, if you have fibromyalgia, I'm trying to think of something. Neuropathy is another one. I'm just coming up with people that I've worked with. I've got diabetic neuropathy, fibromyalgia, not myself, but I've helped a lot of different cases. And in these cases, these people are often, even when I was working in treatment facilities and people are placed on gabapentin, and or Neurontin. Neurontin is one that's used for nerve pain and things like MS. Lyrica is one that's used a lot for neuropathy or just malaise, like in the case of fibromyalgia. I know several people that were placed on Lyrica for that. That's affecting the GABA. It's trying to promote an analgesic effect in the body. Well, Roman chamomile can do that. No, you do not want to use Lyrica and or gabapentin or Neurontin in combination with Roman chamomile. No. So I know this gets kind of touchy, and so that there's going to have to be other oils. That's the reason why it's stick here with me, and let's learn about other oils. And if you have an oil that you would like to hear more on, and at this level, please let me know. Because if this one's not for you, there might be another one. There's ways to work with this to help you begin to step down off the medications if that's your desire, and potentially replace it with an oil or 2 or 3, or just say several oils throughout the day. Now, before I close on this one, I just want to make sure to say that I cannot and I will not provide very specific information about you. So please don't ask if you have a health condition that you're concerned about and you want to know if this is something that's beneficial for you. I can't do it in a single sentence or paragraph, or for that matter, just you telling me, giving me a kind of a snapshot of what's going on with you. I would need to know more about you. So I'd have to suggest a private consultation. That said, I'm not, you don't have to do that. There's plenty of information coming at you right now that you can begin to distinguish how to begin incorporating oils into your day. And I was going to say something and I almost forgot. So that, pardon me, I didn't almost forget. I did forget. But I'm going to, like I said, follow up with this in a blog post and encourage you to watch the other videos if you haven't already done so, ones prior to this. And let's just have some fun with this. Roman chamomile, again, is a really delightful oil. And but those are the primary reasons that I've used it. I've used it extensively for nerve pain. I have helped. I actually used it in situations where glutathione was clearly required, when there was a lot of anxiety going on as well. And there you have it. So anyway, you guys take care. Thanks for watching, and check out the blog.